Have a well-trained front office staff. So I'm a parent. I come into the school. The first person I see is Anna. And I come and I say to Anna, ¿cómo inscribo a mi niño en la escuela que va a necesitar clases de inglés? Right away, Anna should be thinking, ELAC parent, you know? Or I come to the school and I say, how many times are you going to have my kid take the CELT? Just because we marked, you know, that my kid spoke Spanish, my kid gets pulled out every year to take the CELT. What should Marisol be thinking? That's a parent of an English learner. More information for that parent on our English programs might be helpful. So somewhere in that conversation with Anna, she's going to hand me information in Spanish and say, you know, mire señora, sería muy bueno que se involucrara en nuestros programas para aprendices de inglés. You know, ma'am, it might be a good idea for you to be involved in our English learner programs. They meet every month. It's very informational. And in Marisol's example, she might be thinking, wow, this parent, really important to get them involved so that they understand how to help their student that's obviously in that scenario probably a long-term English learner, right? So if the parent's complaining, how many times does my kid have to take this test? That's a potential parent to recruit to the ELAC. So everyone should be informed on recruitment. It might be a good idea for you at your school, in conjunction with an AP or a principal, to have a little mini meeting at the beginning of the school year about parent involvement and touch on ELAC as one of those topics. And for
now that you're speaking, now that we turn into 5 fund, but it should be an onboarding on
yes.
Goal 4.
Onboarding, yes, that would be in part of Goal 4 of onboarding. And it's part of Goal 2 of making sure that all of our parent groups are in order and that we're informing everyone on that. Informing all ELD teachers about ELAC dates and purpose so they can support parent recruitment.
And bilingual teachers.
And the bilingual teachers, absolutely.
And SEI teachers.
SEI and dual immersion. Because back in this example, maybe Anna's interest in being on the ELAC is because her kids are going through the dual immersion program. And she's interested in just learning about how language develops, right? Invite your English learner students to the ELAC. There is no reason not to have students in the meetings at all. And I would argue there's a million reasons why we should have students present in the meetings. Hold at least 4 ELAC meetings so that you can complete all legal required topics. You do not need to have monthly ELAC meetings. I also don't recommend that you hold them all in first semester because you're going to miss the legal compliance in second semester. So what you could do is say, we have an introductory meeting in August where we vote in for our members and do the training. We have a meeting in September to review the site plan. You have another meeting to review the school's attendance. And then in the spring, you're having 2 more meetings to complete the other 2 topics. Okay?
5?
The onboarding one, I wouldn't really count it as a meeting because you're just going to try to get as many people in there as you can.
But wouldn't you do the training at that first meeting?
If you have a good showing, yes. My only hesitation in telling you to make your first meeting one of the 4 is what if only 3 parents show up? So I would schedule 5 for that reason. And always let parents know when you're going to hit a legal topic. Can you hold a meeting every month? Yes. But here's the thing. You can't use Title I funding for ELAC meetings. ELAC meetings are a federal requirement, and we don't fund federal requirements with federal dollars. It's expected that federal requirements are general fund funded. So your ELAC meetings, so technically your translator, that extra pseudo needs to be coming out of your general fund. The light refreshments are an exception as long as they are light refreshments. So sorry, Southwest High, but as it turns out, taquitos and all these other goodies, these are not light refreshments. Light refreshments are granolas, fruit, yogurt, water, and coffee. Pretty much that's it. So what if you want to bring in a guest speaker to talk about restorative practices, and it's a teacher on your campus, and that's going to require extra duty pay, and you're going to need a translator? Should that be part of your ELAC meeting? No. How would we do that, Marisol?
You could form an English learner advisory group.
Group?
And there you can give all the trainings, all the workshops that ELAC asks you for. So
Yes.
they say, when they advise your site plan and they say, we would like workshops on technology, well, you can't deliver that during ELAC, but you can do an ELAC and invite the whole school. And it's just ELAG.
With a G at the end instead of a C. So that's how Chula Vista High ended up doing it after multiple conversations. And they are a school that, you know, through FPM, we started talking to them a little early on. Or you could just have a parent information session and you just, you know, you really recruit English learner parents. Does your ELAG require minutes?
No. because
An
it's all
agenda?
workshops. It's all workshops. In fact, one day
None of that.
I literally had ELAG and then ELAC.
Right
because
after.
I needed ELAC to advise the site plan, but then I needed to give the ELAC asked me for a workshop on Know Your Rights. So I brought in the attorney, but I knew that I couldn't do that in ELAC. So I literally had ELAG and then I had ELAC.
So that's how they are able to fund monthly meetings and even pay staff extra duty. As long as it's not your ELAC meeting, you can fund it from federal funds. Yes.
So, if you have an ELAC meeting where you cover, so like we covered our 6 topics this year, like we've covered, but they wanted, it was technology stuff that and so we brought in our blended learning specialists who were happy. We didn't even have to get them covered because it was during the time that was their blended
fine.
learning specialist period. But we had it during our meeting.
Okay,
But I mean, we covered our other stuff, but we just had it.
that's fine.
Do you have to tag it as separate and not
No.
put it in your minutes?
No, you don't have to tag it as separate and not putting in your minutes. So again, this is that whole Title I, not Title
I don't
I
have
school,
Title I, so it doesn't
and
matter.
how does it impact your funding? So if these things have no funding impact, you may just want to leave it at your ELAC level. Or maybe what you've discovered is when you make it more general to all parents, more parents show up.
Well, we just have more buy-in from our ELAC parents if we have something like this is the main thing we're going to talk about. So we asked them what they wanted, so we divided it up each, but we had all of our compliance things put in with something that they really wanted as well.
That's fine too.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
And I incorporated into our minutes because I thought I needed to.
That's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
if it was part of your meeting, yes. So some of these decisions are going to be differently made at other schools with much bigger
Without funding and
populations.
stuff like that because we're so small.
Correct. Or schools that already have a really great showing to anything parent related, but they want to keep their ELAC meetings really tight around compliance.
Okay.
So it's going to vary in that regard. In our district, it will vary a little bit from site to site. And I think your meetings are during the day, right?
In the mornings.
In the mornings. So that's another difference. If your meetings were in the afternoons and people needed extra duty pay to attend the meetings, you can't do that off of Title I for an ELAC meeting.
Okay.
And so that's where we began to see, like, whoa, isn't, well, what the law says is cover these legal topics.
You don't, I mean, as long as it's not an ELAC meeting, you can just have a parent meeting.
You can just have a parent meeting. You could even say parent meeting sponsored by your ELAC, and it's your ELAC parents that are greeting everybody, and we asked for this training, but a bunch of other parents show up. Fantastic. But if you put the 2 meetings back to back and that helps you meet a better quota for your ELAC, that's okay too, which is what they're doing. So every school is going to have a little bit of variance there. But I know that when I started here in the district, the question, do I have to have monthly meetings? No. You have to have enough meetings to meet your legal compliance. Oh, what if we just did the first 4? No. Some legal compliance is going to happen in the second semester. And then I heard, well, some parents want us to meet every month. That's fine. So hold 4 ELAC meetings and everything else you do however you want. But if what you have is working for you, don't change it. Keep minutes that indicate the advisory. I think we've hit that over the head pretty well. Hold additional meetings for other topics. That's what I was just talking about right now. Right? And so there might be some supplemental dollars that you can use as well for parent involvement. And you could definitely use Title I for those other topics that are not part of the legal topics. But the thing is, if those other topics occur during your ELAC meeting, you can't fund them with other monies because now you're holding an ELAC meeting. Have a kickoff plan. So this might be something you want to start talking about right now in May, before the school year ends, or first thing in July. What is your kickoff plan to grow a robust ELAC? And what are some of the topics your parents are going to want up front to see so that you know how much money you need? And so if you needed to do any changes to your site plan, you do that in a timely manner. Yes?
Is there a school in our district that I'm just really curious because I've struggled with that for a while. You know, drawing parents in. We tried the phone calls. We tried just everything. So I'm just wondering if there's a school in this district that has a strong ELAC committee and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Southwest High has a really good parent ELAC group.
We start very strong.
Okay.
There are months that we don't have as many as I would want. But one of the keys is that we do make personal phone calls.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when Eva was ours, but now she belongs to Hilltop, I mean, she was an asset for us because she developed relationships. What we discover is when someone is speaking to them on the phone, they sort of then make that relationship. Well, I did promise that person I'm going to show up, so they show up. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that what we do have are our progress report meetings, parent meetings. We average about 300 to 400 parents, and it goes back to those personal phone calls.
Yeah.
And we do have teachers that I feel very comfortable with, asking them to provide extra credit for the students, to recognize them in class that their parents showed up to meetings. And that's another one that I do tap on teachers that I have relationships with to ask them, can you provide extra credit?
So there are definitely ways to build it up. I know that at Chula Vista High, you have a pretty solid ELAC as well. Is there anything in addition to the personal phone calls and an incentive, which is what Jajit was mentioning?
I do monthly raffles. So when they come to
raffles.
meetings, I do raffles. Sometimes we have a really good community facilitator that gets me a lot of donations, and sometimes I will raffle $100 gift cards for they get a ticket every time. But I do have a monthly raffle, and I raffle up. I go to Walmart because they're the ones that give me the donations. And I buy nice items, and I put that in my flyer.
She puts the raffle items in the flyer.
One time I raffled
I like that.
Keurig machine because Walmart they gave me a $100 gift card. I had enough, and I put the picture of the Keurig machine. During the holiday season, everybody already knows that I raffle off toys, and I literally put picture of every single toy that I'm going to raffle off. And when parents are coming in, I stand at the door. Hi, welcome. Come in. And I play music when they're coming in. So just my environment, instead of just sitting there and parents coming in, it's like we go out of our way to be there to greet them. We're playing music as they're coming in. Mm-hmm. Even when we leave and they're still talking, it's like 9. I'll be like, se quedan en su casa. And you're welcome to stay. I'm going home, but you're welcome. And they're like, oh no, yeah, we're leaving. But I think it's apart from offering all of that and making those calls, when they show up, they have to build a relationship with you. Yeah. You're the key person. If they're not coming to you after the meeting and saying, bye, thank you, then
there was a disconnect.
Didn't happen. And to me, that's one of the, apart from the raffles and my flyers, which I go whammy on, it's that personal connection that I make with them that they're like, thank you so much. So that it keeps them coming back.
Yeah, I've established a relationship with the parents that have been coming in. So they come, and when they always say after the meeting, they want to talk to me more. It's all great. It's just getting the other parents to come in.
Yeah, so that personal, the personal phone call is really critical. And remember that we can't really ask for parent volunteers to call other parents because there's a privacy right issue. So access to phone numbers, we want to make sure that we really cover ourselves there. That's where having your community relation facilitator or having an afternoon where you phone bank with a few ELD teachers. Hey, let's all crank out. Let's make a personal contact with each one of these parents and tell them, hey, at the next meeting, we're going to review the site plan. Did you know that our site plan includes $150,000 of Title I money? Wouldn't you like to have a voice in how that money is spent for your student? I can tell you that I've had really good turnout when I put a dollar amount to a conversation that's being held. And so that's a really good one. Another one is having awards. And I think we've talked about this in a previous meeting. So you ask all your ELD teachers to identify an outstanding student of the month. And you recognize that student at the beginning of your ELAC meeting. And you invite the student and the parent. And you make a to-do about it, right? Jajit this month wrote an essay that is clearly, at a high level of English. And we're really proud of you, Jajit. And here we are like this. And here's Jajit's mom like, ay, Mija did so well today. Why is this a win-win? It's a win-win because Jajit's self-esteem, resiliency, and grit just got a boost, right? Jajit's mom is feeling like, wow, Jajit's doing so well in school. And she now feels like this school and I, we're partners. The school recognizes when Jajit does well, right? And then we might even tell her, it'd be great if you joined our committee. You're doing so well as a parent. You probably have great ideas to share with other parents. And this is all true. That strategy packs a room of...
Something new we tried also and we didn't get any resistance was we asked our clerical staff at the front office and the library and ASB, we gave them 15 names to call them. So in other words, we needed more manpower, so we asked all them ladies, we asked the ladies if they would during the day, during that week, call 15 parents each.
Yeah, it's like a phone.
Invite them to the meeting. And I was a little bit hesitant, but no one said, well, I have my roles and my responsibilities. They went ahead and then, because I always asked them to jot down whether they did leave a message or contacted, if they were able to speak to someone on the phone. So that's something we tried for the last 2 meetings, and everyone has been very open to that idea, asking clerical.
It's because it's for everybody. Another strategy that I recommend is at the end of every meeting, have a place where parents can say, I would like an appointment with my student's counselor. Now, you want to preempt your counseling team. This is why I always go back to have an administrator involved in everything you're doing, so you have the backing. Typically, when parents come to us with deep academic concerns about their kids, you as the SIS can't solve that, the community relation facilitator can't solve that, the ELAC coordinator can't solve that, even the assistant principal might not be in a position to solve or help with that. That is now a concern that the counselor should take on. So what I did at some of the, when I was at my school, is I had, when I worked at the high school, is we had a list of parents that wanted to see their counselor. We also asked them to put why in a general sense. And then we copied that off and we highlighted it by counselor name and we put those in the counselor boxes. As a result of yesterday's ELAC presentation or meeting, these parents would like for you to reach out for a phone call. And so that's another reason parents keep coming. And you want to double back up and say to that counselor, hey, I left 5 names. Were you able to call those parents? Can I help you with those calls? Do you need a translator to call those parents? So now as a counselor, you might be like, I'm overwhelmed. But at the same time, it's everyone's responsibility to work with and contact our students. So those things are things that you can try. I hope that helps a little bit more to build it up. You had a comment, Carolina?
It was just that for us middle schools, we're using the Achieve 3000 in order, because sometimes if you rely on teachers to send you student names, even though they're going to be recognized, it might not be as easily accessible. So we're randomly picking like 15, 20 kids, and we just make a certificate for them.
From the Achieve 3000.
Yeah,
that's a good way.
3000. So instead of us going, because we usually we go into their advisory classes and recognize the kid. But now, we're still doing that, but we're also doing it for the ELAC. So I pick the, because then at least you'll have those 15 parents.
Yes.
Or at least those 10 parents show up for their kid. So then and you do it at the end of the meeting. So then they can just
yes.
stay for the meeting.
So they've stayed for the whole meeting. Anna, did you have a question or comment?
I was going to repeat what Ms. Singh said. I was able to work at the front office and the counseling centers, and the front office is, the ladies that work at the front office usually see the same moms. They're familiar with what moms or parents or fathers are very interested. And I've seen both where office staff is very engaging, and I've also unfortunately seen teams that are maybe overwhelmed with work and turn parents away. So I just think that training and working with the office staff and encourage them to maybe route those parents to a community facilitator or to the SIS or to somebody at the school so they don't get lost.
And on that note, always thanking everyone involved. So maybe we have an ELAC meeting and we've done all these things, and now we have 30 parents. Or last year we maybe had 5. I immediately am going to draft an email from my principal. Hey, I need you to send this email out to the staff right now. Kudos to everyone. We had 30 parents show up. And then you want to call out, due to the efforts of our ELD teachers, our front office staff, our blah, 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 we now have 30 very involved parents. We're on the right track towards goal 2, you know? Because then I'm sitting and maybe I'm at the front desk of my school and I'm like, oh, wow, I made a difference. I remember I called 5 parents when Jajit asked me to. Or when I saw a parent come in, I gave them a handout to the ELAC. Okay, I'm being part of something bigger at my school. So that, again, so think about this kickoff, and it shouldn't just be on you, right? It should be you and a few other people. You will be maybe not so much amazed, but when you ask your students what might bring your parents to a meeting. So when you're planning this kickoff, have a few kids give you ideas too. That's really helpful and important too. Food is a big one. Food is a big one. I've heard the extra credit. I'm not going to comment on that because that gets into teachers' contract rights over how they give out a grade. So we don't want to make that big a promise on that one. Another idea that I thought about, and I haven't played it out yet, is let's say I attend one meeting, and now I attend the second meeting. And Jajit knew that I was a parent who came to the first meeting, and now I came to the second meeting. She's going to go take a picture of my daughter that says, "Thank you, Mom, for coming." And at my next meeting, that thank you card with my kid's picture is going to be there, right? Like, wow, it matters to my daughter that I came to this meeting. Those little things where we tap into the kid itself, you know, is going to really matter. The other way, the t-shirts here at DLAC and DPAC, there were quite a few of the t-shirts of Sweetwater. And we can check in with the superintendent's office to see like where we're at with the one. There were some made for staff, and there were other ones made for community members, and we handed those out at the State of the District event. There's still more of those t-shirts left over. So maybe somewhere like if you attend, 3 meetings in a row, you get a t-shirt because they're already there. That might be helpful too. Yes.
I have a question that relates back to I think what we were talking about prior.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay?
Yes.
If you have reclassified parents, can they serve? Well, if the only position is DLAC or
DPAC rep.
DPAC, rep. They can they be that person?
Yes, they can.
As long as they're voted.
As long as they're voted in and they're not a staff member.
And they can be. Well, I mean, president. I guess doesn't matter. So really, anybody could be the president. So it depends on your site bylaws, and you can still have president, vice president of your ELAC, parliamentarian. You can have any position you want. It's your committee at the school level at that point. Okay. The only function that a person cannot serve in the DLAC is to be an officer of DLAC. You must be voted in to a school's ELAC, which in this case they would be. Okay.
And on some committees throughout the district, I'm beginning to see, and DPAC added this, you must be the parent of a student in our district. So, like, in this example, if it was Anna that you're adding, and let's pretend you're not a district employee, but she's a parent of an EO kid who's in a dual immersion program. If it ended up being that the DLAC bylaws say that an officer has to be the parent of an English learner, then they just couldn't be an officer. But we take care of that here at DLAC. But could she still be your DLAC rep? Yes, she could.
Okay.
Because she's a voted member. She got voted into your ELAC.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just trying for next year to make sure that because this was new to me this year, so I just kind of want to, and we didn't have this training last year.
Correct.
So I want to make sure that next year I'm all in compliance. And I don't think we had that. We had the vote for like a president and a vice president for our DLAC representative and the alternate, but I don't think we voted
Your committee in.
all the
Yes.
members in, because I don't think I realized that needed to be.
I think there's a lot of people who didn't realize that had to happen.
So like next year, my 15 parents, let's say I have my 15 parents that first meeting, I need to check who's my English learner. I don't go out, the reclassifieds don't count then. Just
Only the parents of English learners can vote in members of the
and then
committee.
they'll just vote in everybody
They can
else.
vote in any, if they want to. Sure.
I mean, why wouldn't they?
Because they could say, we only want parents of English learners. We don't want parents of EOs to be voted into the ELAC. And then that would be their decision to vote one way or
That
another.
won't happen at our school. It's
Yeah.
too small anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That only gets that way on these bigger
We're
issues.
smaller population that, yeah.
Or the ELAC could say, we really don't want to vote for someone who doesn't have a kid at our school. That would be up to your ELAC. If you have bylaws, review them early in the year.
And you can change your bylaws.
Your committee can vote to change their bylaws.
Okay.
If your DLAC rep isn't attending DLAC, replace them quickly. Because they're the voice back to the school. They're your ambassador here, and we spread a lot of information is shared at DLAC that we really don't distribute sometimes in other ways, because we're counting that person's taking all that back to the school site. And then lastly, have staff attend with the DLAC rep. Come, have someone be here if possible. A few legal requirements. You must have an agenda for every ELAC meeting. Agendas must be posted 72 hours in advance. ELAC meetings are covered by the Green and Brown Act that require the following. It requires that an agenda is posted 72 hours in advance. It requires that time be included in the agenda for public comment. Usually you do that at the very end. You'll notice in our board meeting, they actually do public comment in the beginning of the meetings. But most school site committees, you do public comment at the end of the meeting. And you can set guidelines around public can only comment for 1 minute if they turned in a card at the beginning of your meeting, or they can have 3 minutes, or you can set that up however you want, as long as everyone is aware of how that is. An agenda and minutes must be voted on by the committee. So the very first thing you do when your ELAC gets together is, here's our agenda, everyone in favor, aye, anyone opposed?